Hello, BookTube. Have a little mail haul for you on this full, fun, preoccupied, worried day. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Boston, but I have a sick puppy. Frida has some sort of virus working its way through her, so she started off the morning with diarrhea and not being able to keep down food, and now she's not interested in food, and the diarrhea is persisting. So that's on the back of my mind. It's wearing me more than usual because it's the first time she's ever been sick. So uh, it's got that unbroken ground feeling to it. But we've got some mail. I've got a whole bunch of books I want to talk to you about today. So we'll do some mail to start with. We'll start with this thing. It's tiny, so it's probably a mass market paperback, which means it could be a romance, which would be a real nice way to start a mail haul. So let's see. Let's see if it's a romance novel. I could use the relief of a romance novel, actually, after... Oh, it is. It is a romance novel. It's a contemporary military romance novel by Monica McCarthy. It's one of her Lost Platoon books, and it's called Off the Grid. Our cover model is out of uniform, but I'm not going to complain if you don't. And it is, let's see here. It could be about Navy SEALs, I'm sure. Yes, investigative reporter Brittany Blake may have stumbled upon the story of a lifetime in her search for her missing brother. When he seemingly disappears overnight, she refuses to accept the Navy's less than satisfying explanation. She begins her own investigation, which leads her to top Navy SEAL teams, covert ops, and a possible cover-up. And the Navy SEAL in question, him, or himbo, is John Donovan. So this is probably right around the corner coming out. I think I read one of these Lost Platoon books before and rather liked it. Very snappy dialogue. Okay, so we did start off with a romance novel. Good. Very good. Let's see what we have next here. Feels like a finished copy. It is a finished copy of something. Oh my, okay. I don't think we ever saw an advanced copy of this. This is The Lost Words Bookshop by Stephanie Butland, called a bibliophile's delight. Working in a second-hand bookshop suits 25-year-old Loveday just fine. Then she comfortably carries on with her antisocial existence, sorting and filing books, and leaves the socializing to Archie, the shop's more gregarious owner. But then into her refuge comes a charming poet-slash-magician, and not long after that, 3 mysterious packages. Someone knows about her traumatic past, what she's mentally branded the incident. Unable to hide any longer, Loveday is forced to emerge from her prickly and private shell, summon up the courage to right a heartbreaking wrong, and make sense of her past, her present, and her future. In what Linda Green, the author Linda Green, refers to as a rare and beautiful novel. This must come out soon, yes? Oh, okay, it's out already. Oh no, it comes out on June 19th, so Tuesday. And it's... the hesitation that you're hearing in my voice is because I almost never read bookshop novels that are anything close to reality, so they get a little frustrating. But this one could be different. Let's see. Let's move on to something else here. Oh, fantastic. Great. Okay, this comes out in September. I was waiting for this. This is called Accessory to War, The Unspoken Alliance Between Astrophysics and the Military. And it's by Avis Lang and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Big, thick thing. There's a missile being shot against a very well-designed cover. You've got the Milky Way, you've got astrological signs, and you've got the arc of a missile. That's well done. In this fascinating foray into the millennia-long relationship between science and military power, acclaimed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson and writer Avis Lang examine how the methods and tools of astrophysics have been enlisted in the service of war. Spanning early celestial navigation to satellite-enabled warfare, Accessory to War is a richly researched and provocative examination of the intersection of science, technology, and industry and power that will introduce Tyson's millions of fans to yet another dimension of how the universe was shaped and our lives the universe has shaped our lives and our world. Okay, the intersection between science or astrophysics in particular and the military. That's great. That's going to be disturbing reading, but necessary. The intersection between advanced science and the military is responsible for almost all the technology that you have within sight of where you're sitting right now. So it's a big subject. I'm glad it's a big book. Let's see. What is this next one? What have we got here? Oh, okay. All right. This is the finished copy of Tracy Borman's The King's Witch. We saw the advanced copy of this. This is the finished thing. It's a big historical novel. I believe a historical novel from someone who's also a historian. Yes, this is another example, like Alison Weir and Carolee Erickson. This is another example of a historian writing a novel. Let's see here. In her role as Joint Chief Curator of Historical Royal Palaces, Tracy Borman oversees 7 castles and palaces around England. Her familiarity with and access to their archives underpinned her biography of Thomas Cromwell and her history, The Private Lives of the Tudors. Now she brings that same research and storytelling to bear in her debut work of fiction, the first in a trilogy of historical novels set in the dramatic endpoint of the Tudor reign gives way to the dangerous start of the Stuart era. In March of 1603, as she helps nurse the dying Queen Elizabeth of England, Frances Gorges dreams of her parents' country estate, where she has learned to use flowers and herbs to become a much-loved healer. She is happy to stay at home when King James of Scotland succeeds to the throne. His court may be shockingly decadent, but his intolerant Puritanism sees witchcraft in many of the old customs, and it's punishable by death. And then events draw her into court. And this is out in early July, so right around the corner. I fold these pub sheets so that I can see the date at a glance, so that I don't have to go fishing for it when I'm rooting through these books later in the month. Because later in the month I have to sort out all of June and move July up, and then assemble all of July, and then try and make sense of it, try and figure out what's going to happen in it. It's not that far off. I'm still not going to think about it, though. All right. So let's move on to this next one here. So, oh boy! Okay, all right. Did not see this coming. How wonderful! Oh my! Okay, so this comes out in November. Okay, this comes out in November. It's by Margaret George, and it is The Splendor Before the Dark. It's a novel about the Emperor Nero. It is the follow-up to her Confessions of Young Nero. It's a novel, a historical novel about the Roman Emperor Nero, but that was the last thing she did. Ascending to the throne was only the beginning. In last year's The Confession of Young Nero, Margaret George set out to reveal the truth about the last member of Julius Caesar's dynasty, Emperor Nero. With luminous storytelling and painstaking research, she cast aside the tyrannical, hedonistic ruler of popular history to recast Nero as he truly was, a naive boy who took the throne at 16, a fervent artist and athlete, and a product of his circumstances who came to power through his mother's sheer force of will. But in his 10th year of his reign, Rome begins to burn. Nero's naivete is finally quashed, and he must rely on himself to stay on the throne where his mother first placed him, or die. I don't suppose this advanced copy is going to have any blurbs. I reviewed The Confessions of Young Nero, so there might be a blurb on the finished copy. Boy, oh boy, though, big fat Roman historical novel. I haven't had many of those this year. Wonderful. Okay, and then here's this last one. It looks like this is a mail haul of great big books. So I'm not upset about that at all. It's fantastic. Oh my. Okay, great. No pub sheet on this one, but this is going to get reviewed everywhere. This comes out in October, and it looks mighty impressive. I will wait until the summer is over before I read it. But this is by David Blight, and it is his new gigantic biography of Frederick Douglass. Just an enormous thing. The definitive, dramatic biography of the most important African-American figure of the 19th century. An escaped slave who became the greatest orator of his day and one of the leading abolitionists and writers of the era. I can't wait to read this, and it is yet another example of 2018's penchant for throwing unconventional biographies my way. Big, fat biographies of people who aren't my usual biographical subjects: dead kings, dead Kennedys, dead Roman emperors. And I haven't, of course. Any biography of Frederick Douglass has a mighty big hurdle to leap. You have to be close to being in his league as a writer, and that's tough to do. But I haven't read a Frederick Douglass biography in probably 35 years, so I haven't read this yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Wow. This is going to be a major biography of the fall. I'm really hoping, of course, that I get to review it. That would be nice. So there you go. Quite a few sizable books. And this we have David Blight's new big biography of Frederick Douglass. I will report back, but I suspect that given how much time it is absorbed from this author's very good, given how long he's been working on it, I expect it's going to be impressive. Then The Splendor Before the Dark, Margaret George's follow-up to her book about teen Nero. This is the Emperor Nero. Then The King's Witch by Tracy Borman, set in the early Stuart court, which is... Tracy Borman wrote a book on the Tudors, so it's kind of refreshing that she would move things forward. We don't really need yet another novel about the Tudors if somebody's free to do it about another court. Then Accessory to War, about the military's co-opting of science and the relationship between them. That's fascinating. I don't get to read any of these things right away, but except the ones that are right around the corner. Then The Lost Words Bookshop. About a introverted young woman working in a used bookstore. And Off the Grid by Mona McCarthy. This is yet another Navy SEAL is taken to the bed. And that's it. That is our mail haul for now. We have plenty more to talk about, though. So I'll wrap this mail haul up, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.